Mass protests continue in Iraq. More than 100 people have now been killed and more than 6,000 injured in the protests in just the past week alone. The Iraqi government admits that its response to the protests has been harsh, and it is promising to hold commanding officers accountable. And a source who was recently in the country tells i24 News that Iran's Revolutionary Guards are in fact active inside Iraq, working to undermine the Iraqi government. That source tells us that those Iranian operatives are both instigating more violent protests and helping to arm troops who are shooting those protesters. Joining me now to discuss is Thane Rosenbaum. He's a distinguished university professor at Touro University and a Middle East analyst. Thane, nice to have you with us.
Always, Michelle.
So, Thane, how likely is it that Iran is indeed behind this?
They're absolutely behind it. They have almost 100,000 of their own paramilitary fighters in Iraq at this time. It's clear many of them are snipers. They're shooting directly into the crowds, and they're aiming for hearts and heads. And there isn't any question about this. This is what they've been doing. At the same time, you know, they have a great sensitivity about peaceful protests. They put down their own in 2009 with the Green Revolution, and they don't want to see regime change.
Why?
Here.
What's their incentive to take such action in Iraq? What are they afraid of?
Well, one of the reasons is they want to keep Mahdi in power, their prime minister. He is a Shiite. He's the son of a Shiite cleric. He's their man for now. Also remember, the Iranians are experts at Middle East mischief. Destabilizing the Middle East is their area. This is what they do. So on the one hand, you're quite right. On the one hand, they're instigating the protests. On the other hand, they're actually firing into the protests. I just think that what we've seen, whether it's Syria or Lebanon, they benefit whenever Arab and Persian Gulf countries are in chaos. And this is chaos.
This is chaos, and this is deadly because
Yes.
civilians are being killed by the dozens. They're being shot at with live fire, and yet there isn't that much in terms of international reaction, coverage, condemnation. Why not?
Michelle, in 2009, when the Green Revolution was taking place in Iran, we would have had a very different Iran if the world had stepped in and protected the Green Revolution, the protesters in Iran. So this is not uncommon. It's really throughout the Middle East. When Arabs kill Arabs, no one seems to care. It's only when Israelis kill Arabs that people seem to care.
And under very different circumstances, one would need to clarify.
And you did that very nice clarification. You're quite right. But it's true. You know, you're talking about millions of, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Arabs have been killing each other, Shiites, Sunnis.
Right. Where is the outrage? Where is the outrage from the members of Congress that are so vocal about any kind of action that Israel takes, and yet here you have the Iraqi government killing innocent civilians and hardly a tweet?
Yeah, hardly a tweet. And it's extraordinary when you think about, again, it is, you know, how many, 400,000 Syrians have been killed in their civil war. Assad is still in power. We had a green line, a red line, green line, that was with President Obama, if you remember, never took action on gassing civilians in Syria. This is an ongoing story. The world doesn't seem to care when Arabs kill Arabs.
How do you see these protests in Iraq playing out? How does the situation resolve itself, if you will?
It won't. There's no doubt that the protesters are going to lose. Remember, most of these people are young. They're male, they're young. This is also the tragedy of the Middle East. Unemployed young men looking for work. You're dealing with an oil-rich country with no jobs, great poverty, and now violence.
Thane, thank you so much. Thane Rosenbaum, appreciate it.